It's May 3rd, 2022, so it's time for another monthly update video in which I'll talk about what went on in April and what we've got coming up in this month of May. I always like to begin by talking about three big things. So big thing number one, on the 15th, I'm going to be using a new platform that I'm trying out called Lighthall to offer a free workshop anybody can come to on 5 Stoic practices from Epictetus's Enchiridion. It's going to be a great workshop, so look at the link below and you'll find it. I'll talk more about that in the May section. Big thing number two, this is the final semester for me teaching for Carthage College, and I'm also no longer teaching for Milwaukee Area Technical College. I'm concentrating solely on teaching for Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design and on my own stuff, and we'll talk again more about that in the month sections. And this leads to big thing number three. This month, you can expect to see more online classes that I have designed for lifelong learners, students, for personal enrichment coming out. So you can see those in the Reason.io Academy, linked to below, and you'll also see them in other platforms as well. So those are the big things. Let's talk now about April. April was a tough month for me, and I didn't get anywhere near as much accomplished as I would have liked. And, I think if you've been following me on social media, you know about a good bit of that. Some of it was the natural end of semester stuff that's going on. And students right now are very burnt out, very much sort of dragging themselves to the end. But we had two other big things happen in April. One of them was that our 19-year-old cat, Sassy, who I was very close to, my wife was as well. She raised her from a kitten along with her sister. Sassy died, and that was about midway through the month, and that was a real kick in the guts. So, I ended up postponing some events and meetings due to that, and then I got a double whammy because I got sick, and we later found out through testing that I was sick with COVID. There's a lot of people getting what we call breakthrough COVID. You're triple vaxxed, you've been careful this entire time, you haven't had COVID, and because everybody's, unmasking everywhere, it's easier to get COVID. And I thought it was allergies at first, and then eventually we prudently did a COVID test, and by that point I was actually quite sick. So that entailed canceling a lot of things as well. So April was not the most productive month for me. I did actually hold one of the Stoic Sunday sessions on the virtue of wisdom. That video is linked to below, and I'll talk about the other ones coming up in May as well. We did have a heavy metal classic metal class with me, the heavy metal philosopher, and my good friend Scott Cerulli, as well from Berklee School of Music. And we talked about classic metal power ballads, which was a really fun thing. I did one of my half-hour Hegel sessions. I held an AMA. And I also did a presentation last week, which kind of wore me out, for the Dionysus Circle, which is a new organization devoted to Neoplatonic philosophy. And I presented on Anselm of Canterbury and Divine Simplicity and the Trinity. Everything else I put off till this month. Video work, I got one half-hour Hegel video shot and out there for my half-hour Hegel Patreon supporters. I released some other half-hour Hegel videos that I had shot the previous month. I did quite a few core concept videos for my medieval philosophy students on Alcuin's cool work on virtues and vices, and on Anselm of Canterbury's On Truth. And I also did one Wombo video where I took, the images that were generated from taking my dissertation title, or at least as much of it as we could get into it, Catholicism, modernism, modernity, the concrete logic, the philosophy of insufficiency, and then it's ... And, so that's kind of cool. That's linked to below. And I did, my AMA video, which you can see. and the Stoic Sunday event on the virtue of wisdom. That's recorded as well. So, not a ton of video production compared to previous months, but enough. And then the podcast, I actually did a vote about which authors we should do in which order. So some of them I've already done the podcast for and released. The Immanuel Kant groundwork for the Metaphysics of Morals started on Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, Book 5. And then before that, I'd also done some stuff on Foucault's The Subject and Power and on George Dickey's Art and Anti-Art, and What is Art. And then I was finishing up with Cicero's On the Ends, Book 3. So I did a lot of, podcast work this month. And, it's been kind of like I said, a tough month. By the way, not looking for any advice about COVID or grieving or anything like that. We got that handled. And, we're just kind of moving on slowly from that into the next month. We have a rather ambitious set of events set up for May. Ambitious since I'm still, dealing with COVID, which could derail things. Hopefully, I'm going to just keep getting better and better, but, we'll see how things go. So all of the times I'm going to give for this are Central Time. You want to make sure you check your time zone if you want to participate. Everything that I'm going to narrate here is also online, so everybody can join in if they want to, anywhere in the world. Starting on the 7th, the Saturday, coming up at noon Central Time, I'll have my monthly AMA, that's Ask Me Anything session. We'll go for about an hour and a half. You probably want to get your questions in early in the session because I never get to all of them. Some people get a little bit miffed that they don't get their question gotten to, but I try to handle as many as I can. Then that same day, a little bit later on for my Patreon supporters, I'll have my monthly philosophy chat. That's a little bit more intimate setting, talking about philosophy and video conferencing. On the 8th, the next day at noon, we will have the next Basics of Stoicism, a Stoic Sunday live streaming event, and I'll be talking about the virtue of justice, which is absolutely important for Stoics. And, what does it comprise? What does it include? On the 11th at 5 p.m., we'll have our public half-hour Hegel Q&A and discussion session. That's open to anybody. It's underwritten by the supporters of the Half-Hour Hegel Project. On the 14th, at noon and also at 1:30 p.m., we'll have the next Worlds of Speculative Fiction session, which is going to be on Olaf Stapledon and his cosmic novels, The First and Last Men, Star Maker. I'm also reading through his lectures on ethics, which is quite interesting. So I'll do a video premiere first, and then we'll have live chat with that. And then we'll follow that up with a video conferencing for those who are particularly interested in that. On the 15th, one of the three big things that I talked about for this month, we're going to have this workshop hosted on Lighthall, a new platform that looks quite robust and quite interesting. We're trying it out. Free workshop on 5 Stoic practices that you can use to improve your life, taken from Epictetus's Enchiridion. It's a 90-minute workshop. Pretty valuable, but I'm making it free for everybody so we can see how this actually works and how good of a platform it is. So the link for that is below. I'll probably do a video about that as well, inviting people to it. On the 21st, Scott Terulli and I are doing classic metal class, and this time the topic is going to be reviewing recent, that is from 2018 to 2022, recent albums by classic metal bands. So bands that had their origin in the 70s and the 80s. So this will include, for example, Saxon's new album and Iron Maiden's new album and, Tokyo Blade's new album and a bunch of other ones as well. So that should be quite interesting. And we'll probably need more than one session to do that. Scott and I were just talking about it earlier today, and it's going to be a really fun session. On the 22nd, that Sunday, we'll have the next Stoic Sunday, Basics of Stoicism, and this time we'll focus on the virtue of courage. So we've got 2 of these Stoic Sundays coming up this month. And then finally, on the 26th at 6 p.m., we have our Milwaukee Stoic Fellowship. We are focusing on Diogenes Laertes' summary of Stoic doctrine found in his Lives of the Philosophers. And we're looking at some of the discussions about ethics. So those are all the events coming up this month. What else do we have going on? I'm doing a lot of writing. So, if you look at my Medium, you'll see stuff coming out. If you don't know about my Medium, you probably want to go and check it out because that's where I do my popular writing. We've got a lot of cool things lined up in Stoicism Today, the blog for modern Stoicism. I'm doing some academic writing as well and some collaborative stuff. I've got a lot of client meetings lined up with my tutorial and consulting and philosophical counseling clients. And I'll probably, I imagine, have a few new ones trickling in as well. Going to be doing a lot of video work this month, hopefully. I've started doing some remastering of those those old Epictetus Enchiridion videos that I did back in Stoic Week. I want to say, 2016 or 2017. I'm fixing the sound and making them a bit better and re-uploading them. Going to do some more half-hour Hegel videos. We're getting close to the end. You can expect to see a tribute video about Sassy the cat. It'll be pretty long compared to the ones on Teensy and the 2 dogs, in part because she lived longer and I've got more video footage about her. And, she probably was the animal that I bonded most in my life, the most closely with ever in my lifetime. So there's a lot to say. I got a lot of book review videos I want to do as well. Been meaning to get to those for a while. Now that the semester is almost over, we'll be able to do a lot of those. And, some core concept videos. I'm definitely going to do some on Abelard and Eloise and their letters back and forth to each other. I might do some on St. Bernard and his treatise on love of God. We'll see if I can get to those. And then I'll probably do a few more of those asides, digressions, and rants from the Hegel footage that I have because people seem to like them. And as it turns out, going back through the footage, I do actually engage in quite a few rants and digressions from time to time. So that might be kind of interesting to do. I'm also going to be doing some podcasting as usual and continuing on with the Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics, Book 5 stuff. Then it's Augustine, some stuff from the City of God that I didn't get to before. And then we'll do some Epictetus. But in there, on the way, we're also going to do 3 Prudentius podcast episodes on the Psychomachia. I'll be releasing those early, as a matter of fact, later today to my Patreon supporters who will get a sneak peek at those. And then I'll release them to the general public later on down the line. So if you want to see them, become a Patreon supporter and you'll get an early release of those. There's other stuff that I do that's kind of cool in Patreon as well. So a lot of stuff that happened in April. A lot of stuff coming up in May. As you can tell, my voice is about to give out. So I'm going to just say, I hope you all have a great month. And I hope to see you in some of these online events, particularly the experimental one, the free workshop on 5 Stoic practices and Epictetus' Enchiridion. I hope that we get a lot of people coming in for that because I think that could be quite useful for a lot of people's lives and a great introduction to Stoic philosophy if you don't already know something about it. So have a great month, and I will see you somewhere in the ether.